A great chili sauce does not only make everything taste better, no, it's also one of the first things people think of when you mention Sichuan food. And that's why today we're gonna make an authentic Sichuan flavored chili crisp, but we're also gonna see how we can apply those very same techniques to make a chili condiment in pretty much any flavor profile you like. I'm talking, for example, German-style chili crisp. That type of experiment worked pretty well a few weeks ago with ramen, so let's see if we can do it again, but with chili sauce. This video is the first in a new little series about the amazing food of Sichuan, and it's supported by a sponsor I am very excited about, Ming River Baijiu. Baijiu is China's #1 spirit, and Ming River is the first brand that's bringing the original Sichuan Baijiu to people outside of China. More on that later, but now, chili crisp. Where should we begin? Well, I did lots of research, but nothing will ever be as good as talking to a true expert. And fortunately, I know just the right person to talk to when it comes to chili crisp.
We make all natural, small batch crafted sauces and spices that I like to call uncensored Chinese flavors.
But not only is it Jing's job to make the best chili crisp ever, no, it pretty much runs in her blood.
I was born in Chengdu, but I grew up all over. I actually lived in Germany for a while when I was growing up. I opened a restaurant in Shanghai about 5 years ago that was focused on celebrating regional Chinese flavors. And then that led me to go even deeper into my roots, and I went to Chengdu and really immersed myself in the food there. And I became super passionate about especially sharing the flavors, the amazing and diverse flavor profiles of Sichuan cuisine with the rest of the world.
Perfect. So, what exactly makes a great chili sauce?
There's so many varieties of chili oils and chili sauces. I mean, everyone makes their own version at home. There's styles that have beef in it, that have pork, that have like black beans or peanuts and seeds. So there's just so many varieties. I realized that the only encounter that people have had in the West with this type of chili sauce is through like lao gan ma, which is great. And I love lao gan ma. I grew up eating it. And lao gan ma is actually a brand that's from Guizhou.
That's right, China is a big country with many regions, and a lot of them have their own take on chili sauce. So how exactly should we look at specifically Sichuanese chili sauce?
A lot of distinctions to be made within chili sauce. Like you can have just the chili oil, just the chili flakes, and then infused in an oil. Which is the base of a lot of dishes in Sichuan cuisine. So you have that, and I view that like a sesame oil or a soy sauce, right? Like it's not a condiment, it's a cooking ingredient. When you add more things to it, then it kind of becomes more of a condiment, and it's used more as like, you know, it's called like 下饭 kind of thing, which means like to help you eat your rice.
Exactly. It's a catalyst for your favorite carb of choice and pretty much anything else, especially the more stuff you add into it, turning it into a chili crisp.
It's kind of hard to talk about chili crisp because it really didn't exist formally in Sichuan cuisine. It's based on a foundation of chili oil. You can add whatever you want to it. I have family members who make their own famous version of like a beef sauce, beef chili sauce. So it's got chunks of like almost like beef jerky in it.
Okay, enough. I want to start cooking now. So what do we need to make Sichuan style chili crisp?
So obviously you start with the chilies first. That's what gives it the heat, but also kind of the fragrance. The type of chilies that we use the most in Sichuan are called Argentale, and they are defined by being a little more mild, but super fragrant. When the hot oil hits the chili and releases the flavor, the fragrance is what hits you first. And that's really what's valued in Sichuan cuisine, more so than pure heat. And we also do have Sichuan pepper. So Sichuan pepper, of course, is the most defining Sichuan flavor, which is more of a fragrant numbing. A lot of people don't know that Sichuan pepper is actually not a pepper, it's actually the seed of a citrus tree. Then you build up other flavors using spices like star anise, cassia bark, which is a cousin of cinnamon, and, you know, cardamom or whatever spices that you want to use.
Really aromatic spices.
Exactly, yeah. In Sichuan, they would also use like some TCM herbs. So you have that infuses the oil. And then, of course, you have to think about what kind of oil you're using. For us, we are following an age-old Sichuan tradition of using a cold-pressed rapeseed oil. Rapeseed oil, I think in the West, has a lot of confusion surrounding it. People think that it is canola oil, but it's not. And that really, I think, makes a huge difference in the end product. But of course, you can use any oil you want. If you wanted something that is more neutral, you could use a neutral oil like soybean, canola, grapeseed. In terms of aromatics, you want to also build that up. For us, we use a combination of shallots, ginger, garlic. You can experiment and see what combination you like the most and what, some are super garlicky, some, are just a hint of garlic. We also use fermented black beans. You can play around with it. I mean, XO sauce is another variety of this, which uses dried seafood. And if you wanted to add umami from fish sauce, you could do that as well.
Very good. I believe we have enough ammo to work with, so let's make some chili crisp. So in terms of chilies, unfortunately, especially where I live, it can be pretty hard to get your hands on the really good stuff. So I went for the generic Chinese chili pepper I found at the Asian market, and it actually works pretty well. You want to carefully toast these first, which you want to do on medium heat because chilies burn very quickly. Then comes the most annoying part of making chili crisp, for sure, deseeding your peppers. I tried all sorts of methods, but I found that unfortunately the best way is to just go one by one, ripping them open and shaking out the seeds. It's totally fine if you get a few seeds in there, no biggie, but if you skip this step, the ratio will be way off. Pop your chilies into a food processor, ideally not a blender like the one I'm fighting with here, and then turn them into a beautifully red, coarse and flaky powder. So to be honest, this took way too much work, and I'll just say it, next time I'm probably just gonna go for good quality Korean chili flakes. But with that done, we can finally get to work. I'm first toasting a blend of cinnamon, star anise, fennel, black cardamom and bay leaf, to which I then add Sichuan pepper, of course, a few slices of ginger and a few aggressively smashed garlic cloves. The toasting amps up the flavors and the spices, which you want to do before you add your oil. And I'm just going for neutral canola here, keeping it realistic. Set your stove to medium-high and let your spices infuse until your garlic turns golden, and then get them out. Well, as good as you can. Let's add in our aromatics now. I'm going for diced onion, a handful of peanuts, some Sichuanese pickles that I got from the Asian store, and now these are fermented black beans. They are packed with delicious and complex flavors, but they're pretty intense. A great way to mellow them out is to soak these in baijiu for a while before using, which comes in very handy since Ming River Baijiu is the sponsor of this video. Even though, this is almost too good for this type of application, later on in this video I'll show you how to enjoy Ming River Baijiu in an actual delicious cocktail. Lastly, I'm gonna add some finely diced dried squid, probably not authentic at all, but I had it around and it's another great umami booster. Now I set my heat to medium and slowly simmer these in oil until they start to turn golden brown. This step dehydrates and crisps up our ingredients. And while that's happening, I got a cup of my chili flakes and seasoned them with a teaspoon each of salt, sugar, and MSG. And if you're freaking out about MSG, relax, just leave it out, it's gonna be fine, but it's not gonna change the fact that MSG is a pretty common component in all sorts of chili crisps. And probably the secret to Laogama's success. Maybe. Now it's time for everyone's favorite step, pouring the hot oil over the chilies. I'm doing this through a strainer to keep out the bits at first, and I'm also trying to add the oil in 3 batches. That's because in Sichuan, they like to say 一香, 二红, 三辣, which means something like the first one's for fragrance, the second one's for the red color, and the third one's for the heat. But I'm not actually sure if this is really necessary in, small batch home production. I added a heap of sesame seeds right before the last pour because I was afraid they'd actually burn otherwise, but I think I should have added them earlier. In any case though, you have no idea how good my studio smells right about now, and god damn it. Delicious, super fragrant Sichuan chili oil, which will actually only release its full potential after a full night of resting. Okay, so the first result looks already extremely promising, but there were a few technical hiccups along the way. So I'm gonna make a second batch now, but remember how I promised to see if we can adapt the classic Sichuanese technique to create your very own chili crisp? Maybe I can even add a few local spices or ingredients. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
There are things like caraway, which are very German, which are...
I love caraway.
It's a good spice.
I love caraway in my rye bread.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, no, I think that would be really good in a chili oil as well.
Do you think that would be against the rules of the chili oil?
There are no rules. That's the beauty. Sichuan cuisine is a cuisine that it starts from the homes. It's very rustic, you know, it's all country cooking at the end of the day. And so everyone just kind of, you know, adapts it to their own preferences. So Sichuan cuisine is actually probably the original fusion cuisine because it adopted so many influences from all over the world because it's, you know, the Silk Road went through Sichuan. Even the chili pepper was adopted into Sichuan cuisine only a few hundred years ago.
That is such a good point to make.
The beauty about, I think, any cuisine is that they adapt and change with the times, right? And that's how it stays alive. I think it's important, however, to credit the influence, right? If you were to make a caraway chili sauce, you know, if you are crediting it to, you know, this is a Sichuan style chili sauce that we have, you know, taken and adapted it to a Berlin taste, like that's cool. Credit is the most important part here.
And so, giving credit to the amazing province of Sichuan and of course to Jing, who helped us learn about chili oil, here's my take on a German-style chili crisp. So this time our spice mix contains caraway, juniper berries, bay leaves and mustard seeds. Toasty toast with Sichuan pepper, ginger and garlic, then add the oil, give everything a quick fry until golden, and this time we're simply passing the oil through a sieve. So much better. Back into the wok, aromatic time. Once again diced onions, then minced sauerkraut, yes. A few rehydrated and diced porcini mushrooms, and finally diced cured ham. For crunch, I'm also gonna be adding crushed walnuts and flax seeds. Fry until golden brown, and this time we're pouring all of it directly onto our chili flakes, which I already seasoned with salt, sugar and MSG. At this stage, just a little bit of white wine vinegar, and if it bubbles and hisses like this, that's a good sign. And just like the other chili crisp, this should ideally sit overnight. Now I'm about to put my two types of chili crisp to the ultimate test, but first I have a question for you. With all the heat that chili oil and chilies bring to Sichuanese cuisine, how would you mellow it out? How would you balance it out? Well, one of the traditional ways to do so is using alcohol, and particularly a distilled spirit called, you guessed it, baijiu. There are many different types of baijiu, ranging from super delicious to extremely strange, if I may say so. But fortunately, the Sichuanese baijiu, also called strong aroma baijiu, is by far my favorite type. It tastes very, very fruity and floral, and it has just a little bit of like a funky umami note that works amazingly well with spicy food and, you know, the other way around. This episode is sponsored by Ming River Sichuan baijiu, which came straight from Sichuan's oldest baijiu distillery, Luzhou Laojiao. A lot of baijiu aficionados in China will probably tell you that you have to drink this stuff straight up as it is. But you know, baijiu really does pack a good punch. So what I really appreciate about Ming River is that they actually try to bridge this divide between Chinese and Western drinking culture by, for example, developing a lot of really delicious cocktails based on baijiu. For today's video, they suggested a pairing with a drink called Spicy Affair. Of course, we start with 30 milliliters of Ming River baijiu, to which we add 20 ml of passion fruit juice, then 20 ml of red vermouth, I'm using Martini Rosso, and then 20 ml of cherry heering, or any other liqueur of your choice. Shake them up in a shaker or just a mason jar and pour them over some ice. And the best part of this cocktail recipe will be adding 2 to 3 drops of our homemade Sichuan chili oil. All right, there we have it, the Spicy Affair. Very excited to try this. Let me just say it's a good thing you don't know what time I'm filming this at. Okay, let's go. Wow, this is delicious. Very, very, very tasty. Oh god, this is dangerous. You know, the chili oil is kind of floating on top here. So I'm gonna see if I can like drink a little bit of the top layer. That is very cool. I was not sure if this is gonna taste good, but good news, it actually tastes great. But before I get too tipsy in the AM, if you guys want to get to know the flavor of the original Sichuan baijiu, you know, as it is, or in a cocktail, Ming River is the way to go, and it's available in the US and Europe. But now, chili crisp time. Remember how Jing said that a great chili condiment should be very xia fan, meaning it should help you eat your rice. And that is exactly how we're gonna test out this Sichuan style chili condiment, but for the German one, I think it would only be fair to try this with some mashed potatoes to see if it's very xia tu dou. That would be the translation, I guess. Boom! Look at this. Let's start with the classic Sichuan flavor. Ooh. Oh my God. What is this? The perfect bite. Mmm. Okay, that's it. I'm done for the day. I swear to God, this is 1,000 times better than Lao Ganma. It's ridiculously delicious. I really can't believe that this oil is all you need to elevate something as simple as rice to something incredibly delicious. And the spice level is just right. Not too hot, but while my taste buds are still intact, German-style chili crisp with mashed potatoes. I have extremely high expectations for this. The moment of truth has come. First of all, walnut and flaxseed, amazing. Great crunch and great nutrition, I believe. I mean, the chilies are so dominant in this recipe that obviously it still tastes like a Sichuanese chili crisp. But when you think about the nuances, that is not stuff you expect from Sichuanese or Chinese cuisine. This is good. And this is, well, definitely my new favorite way to eat mashed potatoes. 100%.